Yetta, you've got the stove too high again.
Honey, are we going to have a discussion about that again?
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward together with the Dekker Team.
So we're excited to welcome you to another episode. I'm Yetta Dekker.
And I'm Ken Dekker.
And it's where we get to share techniques, thoughts, tips, tools, and even some tactics that we all need. We all deserve. You, I, everyone. So we get to turn our house into home, our families thrive, and we live the best life possible. We're going to consider that when we forgive, how do we know if we've been forgiven? But more importantly, how do we even know that we have forgiven someone? Because sometimes I think I have and I haven't.
Yeah, it's the two sides of the coin again. Like, do you need to seek forgiveness or do you need to forgive somebody else? Both are within your control, but the actual forgiveness part is only in your control.
Right. Or in the control of the person that isn't forgiving you.
Yeah.
Right. So let's understand how we get a fuller, richer, more abundant life by forgiving. Even if it's something so simple as the way someone left your house when you moved in. They didn't leave it nice. You bought a new place. They didn't do the cleaning because you know you would have left it meticulous, and you did. And the one you bought was a mess when you moved in. They even had garbage in the garage, and they left some of their debris behind, even though the contract says they can't do that. Even though if you did a walkthrough and it looked like they were going to, when you got there, it was a mess. So even something so little as that, we've watched and heard people harbor a level of unforgiveness around it, and it actually reduces the enjoyment they get out of their house.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to let that go real quick. There's nothing you can do about it. Except for clean it up, maybe call some friends, say, hey, we're going to have a cleaning party. My house was messier than I thought it was going to be when I moved in. Do you have a few hours to spare?
Right.
And clean that sucker.
And how you know you haven't forgiven is it keeps showing up. You know, in your quiet moments or when something else is happening, it pops into your head again and you can feel your energy. For me, sometimes what it causes me to do is I stop breathing. I hold my breath, and that's an indication that I'm harboring something.
You're feeling something sitting in there.
Yeah, like whether I can feel the heart pain, because that's one of my things, or whether I'm holding my breath, that may be an indication that I'm not forgiven something. So paying attention to what your body, I was going to say your existence, but what it's like existing inside your body may be a clue that you haven't forgiven something that you think you've forgiven.
Yeah. And I think it's really the definition of forgiveness is letting somebody else off the hook for what they did. It doesn't mean what they did was okay. And it doesn't mean that maybe you don't keep thinking of it once in a while. But if you sit and ponder on it and it gets in your, kind of like in your soul and your psyche, and it starts to affect, like you said, your physicality, right? You feel it in your energy and in your chest. Then that's unforgiveness. And that unforgiveness it's kind of like if you took poison and you hoped the other person would die. Because
that's morbid.
Well, they don't probably even know that you're mad at them or upset. And here you are, and your root of bitterness is digging in, and that dis-ease, that discomfort, that causes disease. So it is like taking poison.
It is. And so we're asking you, and I know this is a heavy, heavy topic, right? Like, why do we talk about this stuff? Because we know what it is to forgive, even when somebody doesn't deserve it. Because it's not about deserving.
No.
Right? Definitely not about
deserving. It's not
deserving.
even if they asked for it.
It's not even if they asked for it. It's not even if they're nice about it. It's not even if they don't do that thing anymore. Right? It's that sense of the one that generally gets most harmed is the person that isn't doing the forgiving.
Yeah. It's a choice. Just like loving is a choice. They say it's an action. Forgiving is an action. That's a choice. It's not what you feel like it.
So why are we talking about this one?
Well, because it's all about quality of life. If you're going to have a great life, You don't want to have a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of bitterness in your life. It's not going to create a great life. It doesn't leave space for love and enjoyment and joy. And
And when I think about real estate, what we've come to grips with, I can't even enjoy my space, my surroundings, my beautiful yard, my comfortable hot tub if I am embittered.
right.
So it's like everything in your life, everything in my life, in that case, in the past, I would hang on to things that I could do nothing about. And it actually robbed me of enjoying the beautiful house I bought.
Yeah.
Like at first when we started talking about this, I thought that's a stretch. Like how on earth can my unforgiveness rob me of enjoying my home? But it actually does.
Yeah. And
Because I'm in a wrong space.
yeah. And it also, it's, remember we talk about turning house into home?
Yeah, all the time.
When even in a relationship, like we live in the house is great, but it's not very homey if we're fighting, if we're, like you said to me the other day, it feels like if I criticize something and it might not even be, it might be a preference or it might be better if you did it a certain way. But the fact that I say it feels like I'm picking at you because of the history, the open loops, the history. And we call those triggers, right? And a trigger can happen. And if you get triggered and you feel that emotion, that's a signal to go, oh, there's something I need to work on. There's something in my past that's bothering me. There's something that maybe it's even with that person. There's some unforgiveness there that just got dug up. How do I deal with that?
That's what we often say. That's when you get historical.
Yes.
When you're getting historical, you know that there's probably something that needs to be let go of. And when we're saying forgiven, we're also saying let go of.
Yeah. So you might say, well, I don't really know how to forgive. Well, that's great because we have a solution. We have created the 5 steps to wholehearted forgiveness. And we'd be delighted to send it to you. All you got to do is send an email saying forgive to together@dekkerteam.com, and we'll send you out that resource that we've created. It's worked for us over the last 41, well, not 41 years because we created it about 20 years ago. But for the last 20 years, it's really solved some relational issues and problems, creating more joy and peace in our home.
Right, because it translates to everywhere you are. I mean, that's the challenge, right? Everywhere you are, there you are. Everywhere I go, I'm still with me. So if I'm hanging on to something, I need to figure out how to let go of it for my sake, but also for yours, because you ain't going to enjoy me as much if I'm a mess.
Yep. And the other day, somebody asked me, well, what about things that you're in a stalemate on? Like maybe it's a preference. Yetta prefers something. I prefer something else. We choose to disagree.
Right. Like I prefer to use a hot burner and you prefer to use a cool burner. And that's kind of where we started it, right? In this segment to talk about they're just preferences. So does it actually have to be even said?
Right.
On a stalemate?
No, that's the thing. Just let it go.
Let it go.
Somebody wrote a song about that.
Yeah, let it go. I love that song, actually. I've said that one a lot. So what is something that you're hanging on to? Maybe it's in relation to your house. Maybe it's in relation to the way the transaction didn't go the way you wanted it to. But what is robbing you of joy that it now is time to let it go so that you can move on in greater joy in your space?
We're grateful that you joined us because we love positioning you to build wealth wisely because it's much more than just money.
Moving forward with the Dekker